family, is Namsa here at Ngozi Talk Shows. Find your own voice led from within. With me today, I have Dr. Biget. Happy holidays, everyone. And how are you, Dr. Biget?
I'm doing very well, Numsa. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. So it's good to have you today talking about the grief. Finding joy in grief can be a challenging and a deeply personal journey. Grief is a natural response to loss, and it's important to allow yourself to grieve and heal it in your own time and your own way. While it may not be possible to eliminate grief entirely, so you can learn and coexist with it and find moments of joy and during difficult times. So today we're going to share some tips on how to find joy in grief, and Dr. Biget, she's our grief coach. And Dr. Biget, so tell us about this topic. What do you think about it? How to find joy in grief? Because you are an expert, so I think today I'm gonna talk less and let you, let all our audience enjoy and find some really tips, because that's your expertise.
Thank you, Numsa. Thank you. So that is an excellent question. How to find joy in grief? And I said it's an excellent questions because firstly, it is important to know for some people who might not know that the inability to feel joy is one of the common symptoms, so to say, if you use the medical term, or one of the common representation or a common experience of chronic, prolonged, protracted, or complicated grief. So in other words, the inability, you go around and you do things in life and you do things that in the past gives you joy, whatever it is. Perhaps it is going out in nature, perhaps it's volunteering, perhaps any other things. And it used to give you joy, but now it just doesn't. It just does not give you any joy anymore. And you try different things and you start to feel that you're just not able to feel joy. That is actually one of the more common experience or symptoms of prolonged chronic complicated grief. I am a specialist in prolonged complicated chronic grief. And so that is one thing that that we do want people to be aware, because in that scenario, then understandably, it's sort of like if you use the representations or an analogy of physical situations. Now you're feeling nauseated and you said, well, how can I be feeling like wanting to eat when I'm feeling nauseated? But if the nausea is caused by an infection, then you want to be able to take care of the infection, which then naturally take care of the nausea, and you'll be able to feel like eating again. So that is one. Now, for some of us who experience a recent loss and were not feeling joyful, and we do want to be able to feel joyful. Now, if you actually, I did this the other day really quick, because nowadays everybody Google everything. So I put that in Google just to see what Google says. And as always, Dr. Google or Counselor Google has wonderful ideas to say, but it does not Google or the robot or what have you, the system does not actually point out the part that I just said, which is inability to feel joy is a symptoms of prolonged chronic grief. And please know that there is hope. In that case, The what can you do to feel joy is to know that there is hope, that it is possible, it's probable if you take the correct action to move through and beyond your grief. Not get over it, not just move on, but to move through and beyond your grief correctly, to recover from your grief, just like you recover from an infection, and be able to feel joy again. So that is one thing that we do want you to know, that it doesn't matter how long, it doesn't matter how complicated. One of my longest client, one of my client who has experienced grief the longest was a gentleman in his 90s who has thing happen when he was a child. So it's been 80 plus years. And along the way, he experienced multiple other things. So it was prolonged and compound, complicated in what have you manner grief, from personal things to war to you name it. And it is possible to recover from the grief and to be able to, as most clients call it, inconsistent joy with a lot more ease, in some like effortless joy. Now, if something recently happened to with you, then there are multiple things that you are able to do. Let's say you experience a loss. Now, keep in mind that there are more than 40 different causes of grief, not only a loss of a loved one. But any of the 40 different causes of grief happen, how can you still find joy? How could you still be enjoying your time and find happiness? There's multiple different way to help you to feel that moment of joy, that moment of hope. And one thing is, people feel joyful when they're able to feel hope. If you feel everything's completely hopeless, it's very challenging to feel joyful. You feel you kind of like, I'm the end of the rope and everything else. It's very challenging. So to find ways to be able to have hope, to find somebody to, when you speak with them, they are able to relate to you and to be able to allow you to feel hope is one. And then a number of other things that you can Dr. Google will recommend, or counselor Google will recommend, such as self-care and allowing support. And that's very true. We feel hope when we feel that we are able to have a support, not just qualified, but qualified and able to relate to us. Somebody that you can lean on, and allow yourself time, and we can talk more about that. But I want to pause here to see what's your thought, and if you have any question.
So much. Thank you so much, Dr. Biggett. I like it when you actually explain that it's possible to move through your grief to be able to feel joy again, and also not to use the term of get over it, because there are some people that feel that they have to get over grief. People don't understand that everything is a journey, that they have to go through step by step healing process is all a journey. Um, is there any coping mechanism that you can actually recommend apart from seeking support and finding a professional therapist? Is there anything that you use with your clients, Dr. Biggett, like a coping mechanism for grief?
Yeah, absolutely. A few different ones. And the first one, I'll share two real quick. The first one is to keep in mind what Dr. Viktor Frankl, the author of Man's Search for Meaning, says. Dr. Frankl says that An abnormal behavior in an abnormal circumstance is normal. Let me repeat that for you. An abnormal behavior in an abnormal circumstance is normal. And why do I want people who are facing changes and challenges to hear this? And I mentioned changes and challenges earlier. I mentioned there are more than 40 different causes of grief. Many of us aware of grief being the big four: the feeling from death of a loved one, a um, a divorce, a job loss, or a health conditions. And most people don't realize that grief can be from a lot of other things. The true definitions of grief is the unsettling feelings caused by a loss, a change, or hope unmet. So yes, grief is the natural reaction to loss. Now, if you think about this, a change that's impactful is a loss of your familiarity. And hope unmet is a loss of your hope. The things that's I mentioned earlier about hope unmet, and so but those are intangible losses. So sometimes it's a little bit challenging for people to comprehend that, and so the more cut sort of like the explained definition of grief is the unsettling feeling caused by a change, an apparent loss, or hope unmet. Now, any of those is an abnormal circumstance for the person experiencing it. And a lot of time, one of the number one concern that many prospective clients who came to me or people who came to the grief chat says, oh, I'm doing this and I wonder why. Oh, I'm worrying about me doing this. And many people even said, I wonder if I'm going crazy. And so please know, firstly, in terms of being able to cope when things first happen, until you receive the support, the correct support that you deserve and need, is to know that an abnormal behavior in an abnormal circumstance is normal, such that you're not feeling bad for feeling bad, because that's what happened with a lot of people. You feel bad for feeling bad. You feel bad that you just don't have the energy or desire to clean the house. You feel bad that in this holiday, excuse me, for many holidays time, you feel bad that you just don't have the interest and you couldn't even stand the concept of gathering with all the people who care. They care about you, but you just like, I just gonna conceptualize, in the middle, being in the middle of people. And it has been a year and a half. How could I still feel this way? Well, if you have not received a proper support to move through and beyond your grief, and I'm not talking about group talk only, then you might still be grieving. So you might feel, some people feel bad because they, or feel concerned because they are not, then their taste buds seemingly to change or something, their sleeping pattern and their interest in things, they seems to change. Please know that, or the people find themselves, which is the number one expression of grief, to be irritable. People get irritable and they're just like, I'm so short-tempered and I feel bad I snap on somebody. And so the abnormal behavior in an abnormal circumstance is normal, is number one. And then the second one is to be a heart with ears and open hands. What is being a heart with ears and open hands? And being a heart with ears and open hands is to listen with compassion and no judgment. And then to have an open hand, which is to offer, to allow, but not to expect with a specific tight expectation. And yes, you do want to listen to others. Let's say if you are grieving and your family member and your loved one, you want to listen to them with compassion and no judgment, and not having an expectation as they're supposed to feel this way and that way. True. Or people around you who try to help you. But also, even more importantly, if you are going through things, to listen with compassion and no judgment toward yourself. Even if you're not grieving, let me ask you, Numsa, how many times in your lifetimes where you catch yourself and you say, silly me, why the heck did I do that? Oh my goodness, why didn't I think about this? Oh, dumb, how silly I am. How many times, if we're really honest in our life, if we look in the mirror and when nobody hearing or when we go to sleep, we say, oh, stupid me, I should have done that and this and that. And so when you are grieving and you're doing things that's not your usual, please know that that it's normal, and then that, and therefore you catch yourself doing anything like that, to listen to yourself with compassion and no judgment. Now, if you hurt somebody's feelings, if you yell at someone and you upset the person, if you have the ability to, you can always go back and say, hey, my apology, I'm going through things, but not to berate yourself for doing that. And then to hold it with an open hand. With an open hand is with no expectations, to reach out. When you have an open hand, to reach out and allow and ask. Because sometimes people don't know you need support. And even more importantly, a lot of people whose loved ones are going through things, they say, I want to help, but I'm worried that if I offer, it will offend them. So people might want to help you, but if you offer, they're concerned of offending you. So to allow and ask for support with an open hand, you might say, okay, what an example of this is, you might say, oh, you know what? I guess I'll ask for support for my best friend. And I want for her to be able to talk with me. Now, a close hand will be, I want my best friend to be able to speak with me for at least half an hour. And your friend happened to be at that very moment only have 10 minutes, then you get upset. But an open hand would be, okay, I'm going to reach out to my best friend. And if she's not available, my other friend, and whether they have 10 minutes or 45 minutes or half an hour, you're happy either way. And so those are the two main things, among many others, to allow us to have a little bit more peace of mind when we're going through changes and loss and adversities.
I like it, Dr. Biggett, when you talk about the expectations, how we expect, like um, expect our friends will be like expecting our friends to give us time, and if they don't, then we get upset. It's something that I've learned the hard way, to depend on somebody, because when you depend on someone, when they do let you down, because people will let you down, then that's another grief again. So for me, I have this attitude now that I have trained myself, that if my friend is there for me, they are there for me. They want to give me time, they will give me their time. But at the same time, I will go my way and try to find a coach, a mentor that can mentor me. Or if I cannot afford a therapist, I will go to a GP and just explain and say, could you please do a referral for me? And they will do a referral for you, because sometimes a bit depending on somebody, uh, I used to depend on people, but I realized that people are busy. Sometimes it's not that they don't want to, they want to let you down. It's just they don't have the time. So it's very, very important as well to, like Dr. Bickett was saying, that I hope is a hope unmet is hope is unmet, a loss of your hope. So it's very, very important to understand that if you want to meet your needs, you have to have a strategy that can include family members or friends, but don't depend on them. Always go your way. You know, the good thing about social media now, you can find people like us at Ngosi talk shows. You can find any groups where people say come and join, or they give out free session and stuff. So it's very, very important to be in the present moment and find those resources, free resources, if you can't afford it, where you can get help. Um, like you were saying, Dr. Bigot, receive correct support is very, very important. And also you mentioned that find somebody that can listen to you with compassion. And also if you are a friend, somebody confiding you, listen to them without judging, coming into a place of judgmental. So I think that is very, very important to actually, when somebody is going through something. I have a friend that she was once going through grief over her mom, but she was actually getting like angry. She was, the brain, it makes up things, and this is the girl that she will always talk to me about her mom, a relationship with her mom. They're very close. And then her mom dies. And now the head is making things up and she's getting upset more. I'm like, I'm listening on the other hand, and I'm thinking, what do I need to do now? Or what advice can I give? I'm like, no, I don't need to give advice. Just let her know that I'm here for her. And then she comes back again. Now she's all calmed down, and she's just now she's in the right direction now, and she's now focusing on grief, because before she was going that way. Yes, talking about the relationship and things that never existed, that she never spoken about. And I think it was anger, like you feeling that I'm in the UK, my mom is gone, and I'm never gonna say goodbye to her properly. Because sometimes you want to be like you us here, we're from Africa, we are in the UK. It's tough when you lose a parent, and then they have to be buried in certain days. And if you are not there, you are not there. So sometimes it can be tough. So, what advice can you give? I know there are some people that I know that they've lost their families during lockdown, and they never really went to lay them. They had to go and pay respect after. And for that moment, they feel that they missed out because they never said goodbye to their loved ones because of the pandemic. So, what advice can you give somebody that is going through that grief, and they feel that they should have gone and say goodbye to lay their families to rest?
Yeah, definitely, Numsa. I hear you, and my heart goes out to anyone who are experiencing challenges and grief at this moment, and particularly those who are not able to have the closure the way that you are familiar and comfortable with. I can only imagine how you feel in that situation. I'll answer that questions in a moment, but I do want to say one thing before that, and that is the you mentioned nowadays that the social media is like one of those two-ended swords, so to say, when it comes to grief. Yes, thankfully there are support online nowadays. I would say, and whether it is on social media or outside social media, there are plenty of support online. For instance, I actually on most Wednesday, not every Wednesday, but most Wednesday, I provide a free grief chat. In other words, you can join online on Zoom just like this and then speak with me for the hour. And people come in with asking different questions. And so that is one thing that availability in and many other, there are multiple different free resource out there online. Now with social media by itself in particular, one's want to be mindful. Why? Because a lot of time from not knowing any better, there are a lot of misunderstanding about grief out there. We call it myths or misunderstanding about grief. There's at least 12 that I can come up right about and talk about right off the bat. We'll be here until tomorrow if we talk about them all. But there are so many misunderstanding about grief, and the majority of people think about this. You and practically everyone you know, including myself, when we go through school, even in college, what we usually do not have grief 101. You can, unless you are in certain training, most people are not trained to have grief 101. Here's the correct way, and here's all the misunderstanding about grief. You don't. Here in California, we kids grow up being told what to do if earthquake happen and how to navigate earthquake. Here's how you to prepare for earthquake. If something happened, this is what you do. Now, grief in a way is like an earthquake in our life. We're going along and then something happened, boom, and then we just seem like we feel like we've been thrown off and everything's rattled and shaken. But there is no such a thing at all on how to navigate grief in school or even in college in general. And so not a surprise that it is a lot of misunderstanding. And one of them is about positivity. Now, by all means, being positive is important. And social media is full of positivity because nowadays every other person say be positive and be strong and all these good things. And at the same time, there is a word called toxic positivity when you are grieving. And that's when you're going through things and people say, be positive and be strong and all these things. And you've been trying your very best to be positive. Most people, by the time they come up to social media and reach out, they've already been trying their very best. And imagine yourself in that situation. You've been trying your very best. And now people say, be positive, be strong. What does that imply to you? That implies that you're not trying well enough. That implies that you are weak. That implies that you are not positive and you thought you've been trying to be positive. That makes your heart feel unheard and it hurts even more. And so, and many times people says, oh my God, I just look at social media, it just make me feel worse. People who are truly grieving, just be mindful that most time people don't know what they're doing, even though they mean well. And sometimes we do want to stay away from social media when we're grieving. If you find them to feel worse, actually, we know that people who take their own life, unfortunately, a lot of time is because of that. They've done everything they possibly can to keep going. They turn to somebody who doesn't understand and who doesn't know, and they say, be strong, be positive. And that become, while they've already tried, they thought they've done everything and they thought they tried everything. And that become the camel that breaks the straw that break the camel back. Is that, oh, be strong, be positive. And they just like, I guess I'm just not good enough. And I guess I have no hope and I'm just weak and I'm just no good. And then I'm just done. So just be mindful about social media and the potential. While it is good, it's also there's a potential of toxic positivity. And so that is one thing. And back to your questions, if we are not able to have the closure that we would love to, and our loved one, whether because of the pandemic or because of whatever reason it is, that we're not able to have the closure that we would love to, that in itself added to the grief. Keeping in mind that the definitions of grief, one of them is hope unmet. So many of us have this hope that, in the back of our mind, yeah, we know things can happen, but we typically say, so, if this is happen, I can do ABC, and then now I'm not able to do ABC. So please know that in that scenario, you're experiencing two different causes of grief, not only one. And back to the earlier, to be kind to yourself, being the first place, is to realize, just like people who are experiencing divorce, for instance, that's two causes of grief, not only one. And to be even kinder for yourself, and to allow even more support. Think about this. If a broken heart, I use the analogy of broken heart, it's like broken legs, except broken heart, if you've experienced a true broken heart, it feels a lot more painful than a broken leg. And though if you have your leg broken in one place, that's bad enough. But if your both legs broken, so you have more than one cause of grief, or your leg broken in multiple places, you really want to allow yourself a crutch at the very least. Ideally, go to an orthopedic specialist as fast as you possibly able to. But if you have your leg broken, we call in multiple fracture in multiple locations, and you try to keep walking on it, you know what would happen. Or if you say, yeah, well, my leg is broken in two places here and you can see the bone dangling, but I'm going to go and sit on the couch and see if it'll get better. You'll also know what's going to happen. It's not going to heal properly. And then you'll be, even if the bone somehow, some way managed to unite, it usually does that with calluses, and then the calluses cause pain, which is another myth of grief, that time heals grief. Time does not heal grief. If you think about it, if time heals grief, trauma is a cause of grief. And if time heals grief, there will never be PTSD. If time heals grief, there will never be post-traumatic stress disorder. Time complicates grief. And so if you have multiple causes of grief, the first place is to allow yourself some compassion, to allow yourself some outlet. If you feel angry, for instance, you say that, Numsa, if you just like, oh my God, some people say, oh, I just feel like going to scream and I just want to, oh God, go ahead and scream. Now, you might want to close all your doors and windows so you don't scare your neighbor, but go to your bathroom or go to your closet. When people work with me, I actually has a very structured way to help people release this kind of like steam inside, whether it's from screaming or from things like that. Here in the US, we have places nowadays where they call it smash room. Smash room, like smashing, where you can go in there and you pay a certain amount of money, and usually a certain amount of money, and you go in there and you can even choose what do you want to smash. And for instance, I was looking at one for to help out a client, and they said, getting frustrated at work, you can be going in there and smashing up printers and computers. No, it's definitely a good temporary relief. But no, that is, if it is grief, if you're frustrated, that's a good one. But if you are grieving because something's deeper than that, then it's a good temporary relief, kind of like taking a Tylenol with extra strength, with when you break your leg to help with the pain, but it's not going to fix the broken leg. It will not fix your broken heart. But do something like that, that allow yourself to release the moment, to go moment to moment, to allow yourself to grieve. It's in general, we want to allow ourselves and allow our feeling. We, like you Numsa say earlier, sometimes we think that grief is like a monster and we have to run from it. It is not. To allow your feelings, to allow yourself to be abnormal, to listen with compassion, to find an out a release, and to allow support.
Love that, Dr. Pickett. Let's run from grief. Yeah, I actually agree with you when you say sometimes when we see social media messages, it's all about positivity and be positive, be strong. And that can leave somebody questioning their feelings as well if they hear that message all the time, that why am I feeling that way? Why am I not strong? They can start questioning their abilities, and that can lead to depression as well. Being strong, it means when you're going through grief, you got to face it. You got to face those feelings. You cannot run from them, because if you run or hide, like what's his name? The speaker that is a twin. What's his name? Um, there's Steve Harvey. What's the other one? What's the other one? You don't know the speaker that is a twin. What's his name? His name he keeps running away from, and it's my favorite speaker. So he says that you cannot run under the tables. You cannot run from anywhere. You cannot. Or the only thing you can do is actually face the whatever you go through in life, and finding joy in means surrendering. I think, like Dr. Biggett, I like it the way you explain that time is not, people say time is a healer. Time is not. I think you have to make up your mind, basically, when it comes to grief, that, you know what, I'm gonna make up my mind and accept it. And you mentioned that it things that sometimes if we think about it positive, be positive, be strong, and time is a healer, can leave us really with the complicated emotions. And it can, that's why you need somebody that can actually help you with your feelings, a professional to actually help you, because otherwise it would drag on and drag on and drag on. So it's very, very important to actually find that joy through it, and also knowing that you are unique. Like what Dr. Biggert was saying, we have to understand that when we listen these messages, be strong, be positive. First is the relationship. Some people might be grieving, but they are grieving for people that they've never, like parents, they've never had a relationship with. So now they're going back to their childhood attachment, mixed emotion, and they're like, why? Or maybe they needed some answers, or the relationship wasn't in a good place, and that person dies, and the anger now. So you need a professional that can direct you to the right direction. Or some people simple, they're just facing that grieving, and the love of a person. I just find sometimes the painful memories and the painful grief is where you have good memories in them, because you don't want to let that person go. You want them to stay with you forever. But when they do leave, that is painful. So it's important to actually find somebody professional like Dr. Bigot, and just find that healing. And Dr. Bigot, uh, How do you deal with the unexpected loss? Because sometimes the untimely death can really hit somebody. Um, it can really it can just change everything. Like one person and the person they're here, and then the next they're not here. It can leave confusion.
Yeah, and I hear you. And unexpected loss, for instance, somebody suddenly passed away or somebody suddenly leave you, that can be very shocking. And that really is something that you do want to allow support. It's the unexpected loss. My background is in medicine. It's a clinical medicine, and there is sometimes patients come in with what we call a true shock, like your system go through a shock. And when people come to me with with an unexpected loss, somebody suddenly passed away, or a relationship suddenly dissolved. I want to backtrack a little bit actually. Something you mentioned, Numsa, the you mentioned something about sometimes it could be you don't have a good relationship with your parents or with something, and then now you notice that you are grieving about that, or you're having the problem with your current relationship. And that's something's very possible. The Grief Recovery Institute, which is the one of the few, if not the only system in navigating grief that is based by evidence. So it's an evidence-based system. Says that when we have problem with our in our current relationships, so let's say you continue having problem in your romantic relationship, work relationship, any relationships, that is in general almost always caused by unresolved grief from the past. Now, what many people also don't know is the term of generational grief. Generational grief. So in other words, like generations, different generation. And what's generational grief is, we know now through many studies that when somebody is grieving by something very impactful, including something like a Holocaust, a very traumatic experience, an unexpected loss that the person do not recover from it properly. When something like that happen, grief actually, we know grief has a lot of physical impact in the persons by themselves, partly because of the stress mechanism grief cause in our body physically. But also, we know nowadays that grief causes changes in the DNA methylation. Now, DNA methylation is the way your DNA process and work and continue to function. So think about this. So when we talk about past trauma, it might not necessarily just be you. They show studies where people whose parents and people who are parents might want to think about this for their children, but people whose parents went through major adversity in life, and they, because of whatever reasons, they did not receive the proper support and recover from their grief properly. That tendency of not being able to feel joy, back to the conversations about joy, that everything seemingly heavy, and we feel that we're prone to getting depressed or feeling hopeless or all these things. Those can be passed on to the next generation. So if you have young children and you are grieving, please think about them in additions to you, now that you know these informations. But so now if you experience a shock, so when an unexpected loss happen, there is two component in there. One is the shock part, and then there is the other part, which is the grief part. And they tangle together at the beginning. If you experience a shock, just like somebody who are experiencing a shock for whatever physical reason it is, then you really, really want to allow yourself some time. You want to allow yourself you. You want to allow yourself to be you, to say, okay, this is very shocking to me, and I'm going to just take a moment, and whatever a way that you firstly able to support yourself, and whether that's by crying, whether that's by sitting and not doing anything, to allow yourself that, and then to, as much as you possibly able to allow correct support, and that could be from an experienced friend, that could be many times nowadays, such as even myself. Some of us say, well, we don't have the resource to work with professionals for a long time. I allow for anyone listening to this, anybody that you know, if you mention the talk show, then I actually will allow and give you laser coaching. And for the shock part of grief, that's something that you can benefit on. Call out, reach out, and there are many people, many professionals who will allow you a quick 15, 20, 30 minutes of laser coaching. And that could help you through the shock, and the grief will is there, but at least you move through the shock. It's an analogy that if you like to the broken leg, if the broken leg happen in such a way that it causes your system to go into a shock, we know that it can cause us to shut down. And yes, it can cause us to change. And in general, grief, to know that, yes, if it's changed you, to be okay. Almost every client that I have says that by the end of the time they work with me and their journey and recover from grief, everyone says, yes, grief changed me. And thankfully, when you are recover from it, yes, it changed you, but it does not mean that you have to grieve or be in pain forever. Now, at the same time, it's back to being individual. We're all individual. We all have our different time. Is to, like Numsa says, and as we said earlier, to allow you be you, to allow you to be you. Everybody has different time frame. Everybody has different time when they feel that they are ready for the next step. And so to allow you to be you, and if it is something that's very shocking, to allow you to be you, to allow you the time, and to allow you the support that is correct and feel good for you. And it could be speaking with a friend, it could be, okay, I'm just going to go, and we talk about potential of toxic positivity, but if that's what you need at the moment, you're just like, I'm going to go and look at everything that's possibly funny and can make me feel just a little bit better online. Do that for the moment. Be mindful that it doesn't turn into a new kind of problem, but do what you need to do, and to allow the support if it is a lot of shock, because the shock itself can really hit us really hard, in many different ways. And if you notice physical changes, so in other words, you start having let's say stomach discomfort, muscle discomfort, unable to sleep or unable to eat or anything, to allow support from people. And if there is a physical concern, to allow support from your physicians. Nowadays, we know many times that grief do causes physical impact. grief does cause physical impact in you. Nowadays, we know that it can cause so much so that if you can actually do blood tests and show the impact of that, we know that grief can change the shape of your heart physically. Instead of your heart being the normal heart shapes, it makes the bottom of the heart bellows out. And people get heart attack or heart condition and heart failure from that. So if it is shocking, and this is something that's even more common when it's come in a shocking manner, if it's shocking and you have physical symptoms, please do reach out and connect with your physicians, because the impact of grief can be that strong. The phrase die from heartbreak is not only a romantic term, it's actually can truly happen with people. So if it's shocking, if it is something that so unexpected, it taken you aback significantly, not just feeling the grief and the loss, please allow support. And that is emotional and mental support, but also very importantly, physical support because of that impact of that shock.
I like that, Dr. Biggett, when you say true shock, just take a moment and just breathe in and don't try to, like, there's some people like they like to they question their feelings. You know, the beautiful thing about feelings, what I've noticed is if you let your feelings feel that pain, and then when you let them feel that pain, and then now you have to ask yourself, how do I need to feel? Now this is how I'm feeling. How do I need to feel moving forward? I lost my granddad a few, maybe last month, and he's the man that he trained me to be on stage from a very young age. I think I was 6 years old, and by the time I was 9 years old, I was professional as a professional musician, because we used to stay awake. Like I used to go to bed at 12 midnight or sometimes at 1, very young age, and I used to enjoy it. But that moment, I didn't grieve for him. I don't know what happened. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe I spent too much time with him, or it's because I was holding good memories. When he was ill, there was time for me that I felt that he should get better, but I knew that I was not in control in his life. God was. But when he went, I just accepted it, and I was like, wow, that's how it is. But I find myself cherishing every moment that I had with him, and cherishing the gift that he shared with me, his gift to my bloodline. And normally I would just go mad. Honestly, I will smash things normally, but this time, I don't know. I think just coming to the talk show and just listening to you, Dr. Biget, and talking about the different emotions about grief. So I think in my subconscious mind, I've decided that, you know what, God, let God be God, and let me just embrace every moment that I have with these people. So I think that is very, very important. But the part that I struggle is my father-in-law, because this is the man that like he used to go to town, go anytime, he calls me anytime, but is the one that I'm struggling to accept the change, because his health, he had a stroke, his health changed very quickly, and that love that it cannot recognize anybody. He recognizing his granddaughter sometimes and his son sometimes, or sometimes he recognizes me that I'm a member of a family. When he sees me, he smiles, but sometimes completely he cannot remember, and that is, to me, that is a loss. Like I'm with you, but you cannot remember me. So sometimes I struggle with that, but at the same time I have to bring myself back and say, I'm so grateful that I got to be part of him, and I got to have got to connect me with his family. And but sometimes it can be really a struggle for somebody. And I will say that if you're watching the talk show now or later and you are struggling with grief, please do get in touch with Dr. Biget. Please don't get in touch with me. You can get in touch with me to connect you with Dr. Biget because I am no grieving coach. Psychology and grieving, those two things do not get on. Um, I realized that because when I was grieving, I went to three psychologists and I didn't find that breakthrough. Now I understand because I'm now a psychologist, but I know that I cannot help somebody who is grieving. If I hadn't worked with the Dr. Biket who specializes in grieving, I'll say, you know what, I can do it. As a psychologist, we can do anything, but you have to be a specialist in order to understand really deep what grieving is and how to deal with it. No psychologists that are specialized with it, yes, they can do it. So I would say please do contact Dr. Biget through the website, and or you can get in touch with me to connect you with Dr. Biget. I know there are some people that are grieving during holidays, and grieving is different things. Marriages, like what I've noticed when we go to New Year resolution, people go mad. They leave relationships. They're like, I need to change. Yeah, I need this. And if somebody's left grieving. So we live in this world where everybody seems to think that they can change a relationship anytime they want, even if there's no abusive or anything. Like, I'm bored. People leave relationship because they think they're bored. But can go to Tony Robbins, or you can come here to Hope Spring Tenant Introduction Agency will help you not to get bored. Because if you leave a relationship because you're bored, that means you're gonna do the same the next one until you decide to actually find the happiness within, find that joy. So that's how life is, I'm afraid. But the joy, the beautiful thing is we have coaches that actually can help us, like Dr. Biget can help us to find that joy through grief. Any words of encouragement, Dr. Biget? It's 2 o'clock.
Yeah, absolutely. Back to the initial questions, how do you find joy in grief? And is to know that there is hope. That even if you feel that you are in the deepest and darkest night right now, or if this has been going on for 80 years plus, or it is one of, sometimes people say, I have too many things going on. I don't know if you can help this, and because too many things. It is possible to recover from your grief and be able to feel joy on consistent regular basis again, instead of what many people say, joy, it seems like, it's that light that you from time to time you're able to get it and then it's escape again. Oh my god, it's just so much effort to get there. No, it is possible, there is hope, there is help, that you will be able to move through and beyond your grief and to be able to feel a consistent joy where, one of the most recent clients says, oh my God, I used to cry all the time and now I wake up and I just feel I'm at ease, and then I look, and I used to look in the mirror and just get angry. Her expression of grief is angry, and now I'm just at peace with everything, including myself and the way I look at everybody else, and feel joyful and at ease and able to enjoy things again. So please know that there is hope, there is help, even whatever that is going on with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Biggett. For me as well, I will leave you to remember that grief is a unique and individual experience. There is no right or wrong way to navigate finding joy in grief. It's about finding balance between honoring your emotions and allowing yourself to experience moments of happiness and connection with the world around you. It's a journey that may take time, but with support, people like Dr. Biggett and self-compassion, you can gradually find moments of joy amidst the pain of grief. So don't compare your grief with anybody else or blame your feelings or say, why am I feeling this way? Know that everything is just going to work out just fine as long, so I have to be specific here, guys, as long you don't stay too long in that moment of feeling sorry. You've got to seek help. Otherwise, you can get into depression. We don't want the depression. When you have a problem, you just solve it straight away. So please get in touch with the Dr. Bickett if you want to get in touch with her through. She has a website on her Facebook page. You can find her website, and also you can connect with her on all her social media. And please do add Ngozi Talk Shows as well, Hope Spring Eternal Introduction Agency. If you go to my website, you'll find her there as well. And please do connect with her. And we go through difficult times, the happy times during holidays, people, relationship breaking up and losing our loved ones, or simply jobs loss as well, or expectations that are not met. That is grief as well. So please do, if you find yourself grieving, she can give you maybe even 30 minutes to talk and free talk and chat with you private. So please do get in touch. God bless everyone. Have see you on Monday, and it will be 2024. So I will try my best to pop in maybe before 2024, just 2023, to say goodbye to 2023. Until then, live with grace and enjoy those chocolate. Don't feel guilty, guys, for 2 days. Enjoy chocolate for 3 days. Enjoy chocolate, dance your own dance, dance your own music, but don't remember to pray. Remember, God wants us to pray our way to 2024 so we can have more blessings in 2024. So just remember God as well as you guys walk along this journey. I'll pop in and say hello before that.